Okay, so I know this is after summer, so it kind of defeats the purpose of you figuring out some things you can do during summer for your kids, but I had to test it before I could actually tell people what I did in order to actually have a success rate. So I did a lot of thinking the beginning, or I should say the end of the school year, on what I would do with my kids because I had no clue what to do with them all day, every day for the whole entire summer. So I used my main source, Pinterest. Pinterest had a lot of good ideas, and I really didn't know how to compile them all in one. But the biggest one that I found, and this is all props to someone, I can't even remember who did it. If I find it, I will definitely give that person credit. But they made what it's called a bullet journal. So the main reason for this and what this lady talked about a bullet journal is the fact that kids need a schedule, just like adults. Adults need schedules too. We need to put that in our head that like we need a schedule, otherwise we lose our mind. But kids need a schedule especially, otherwise that's when they act out, that's when they go crazy. If their schedule is whack and they don't have one, they don't know what to expect. And so this whole purpose is to give them a schedule and a kind of visual of what they're expected and what they should and what they want to do every day. So what a bullet journal is, and these are my boys' bullet journals that we made. We actually went to the store and got a composition book for them so that they could kind of get excited about it. But what we did was we added a few topics on what we would do throughout this summer. So here I'm going to kind of show you what I did. So I made little tabs, and I actually got the little stickers from Walmart, and for each one I just had them color different colors, and then after that I took them off and I put them on the pages so they could have their own tabs, which was pretty awesome, and they actually really enjoyed it. So what I did first was obviously have them write it, have them do all of it. However, there are some things that I probably would do myself, depending on your kid's age, because of my youngest, his handwriting is a little sloppy. So when he went back to read it, he had a hard time reading it. And then he'd ask me, I'm like, I have no clue what you just said there. So the first thing that we did was a calendar, and we had them add the certain things that was actually going on in the summer that we knew about. And so we went through our time and scheduled in all the holidays or birthdays, and then anything that we had planned. Like we had a baseball tournament at the end of July. We had a cousin's camp that my mom put on for all the grandkids. We had 4th of July, just all these random things that we put on the calendar so they knew what was going to happen any time of the month, pretty much. The next thing that we did was a chore chart. So I don't even know if you can actually see this. But I had a daily and weekly chore chart of what they were supposed to do every day and what they were supposed to do every week. And so that they were able to know what was expected for them to do during the summer. Next, we added a daily activity chart, which was things that I wanted them to do on a daily. So for instance, I had them 30 minutes of exercise. They had to play outside for an hour at least. They had an hour of activity, which I'll go into after, of like we had a daily theme. And then every day had 30 minutes of quiet time. I'd probably do an hour next time just because I feel like they were able to actually do a lot within the 30 minutes, but I felt like the time was just like very short. I guess you could kind of gauge what your children would need, but the quiet time is being in their room, reading, writing, drawing, or coloring, doing any of those things, but keeping them occupied, but at least giving them an hour to do their own thing in their room, kind of keeping quiet. They didn't have to be silent, but they weren't making racket, noises, everything like that. Okay, the next two lists are the work hard list and the play harder list. Obviously, they had a lot of play harder lists on their list, But the work harder list was specifically for things that they could do during the summer to make money. What we had as ideas is lemonade stands, pull weeds, we could do neighbors' weeds, we could do things like that. They actually just recently came up with a business of going and washing people's trash cans. And so just things like that to give them an idea of what they can do to earn money is really good because it brings out their work ethic. The play harder lists are things that they wanted to accomplish in the summer. I gave them a lot of ideas, but they had a specific list, like they had a pretty long list of things that they wanted to do to accomplish this summer. And they actually pretty much did a lot of the things, and there were still some things that they didn't do, which is good because they were able to accomplish and they weren't able to do all of it. So that's pretty good, making sure that they keep their minds open and that they're using their brains so that by the time they go back to school, it's not like a shock to them that they have to use their brains. So let them be creative, let them think of their own things. You can give them ideas, but I think that kids have a hard time with using their brains and being creative these days because they're so glued to technology. And so you want to make sure that they're actually getting away from the technology and using their brains to do something else. The last thing that I did for them was a daily schedule. So I had every day from 7:30 to 4, every hour of them listing what things they wanted to do every day. This is important so they can see, okay, I'm really bored right now. Oh, go look at your schedule, see what you're supposed to be doing or what you wanted to do that day. And so they have like a set Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If they don't abide by it and they're doing something else, that is totally fine. The whole purpose of this is to keep them occupied. I will say that I'd say the first 3 weeks after we made this, they were still bored every day. I was like, what the heck? Why aren't you figuring things out? We went through all this stuff. And then I realized that they weren't actually looking at their daily schedule. They didn't have anything planned, and so they didn't know what to do. All they saw was this book that they had to open, and that was like hard work for them. I don't know why children think that way, but they do. So what I would suggest is make sure that they have this open every day, that they're looking at it every day and figure out what they want to do. That way they have a schedule of things that they want to do if they're getting bored, if they're done with whatever they did previously. But they don't have to be done by that certain hour. They can keep going, doing whatever they're doing, just making sure that they're staying occupied. So from that, I made a Monday through Friday schedule of what we would do every day. I had a topic of things that we would do on a daily every week, and so it was set. So this is something that I made, and you see it? There you go. You can do your own thing as well. It doesn't have to be the exact, but I did Monday, make something Monday. And so anything like we would do an experiment, we would do a new recipe, or I would have them do it. I would help them, but they are the ones that were doing it, or do some type of craft. So that was Monday. You're making something, using your imagination, figuring something out. Tuesday, I did Time to Read Tuesday. And so what we did was we found a local library next to us. We got a membership, and we would go there on Tuesdays and pick out a book or pick out several books and just start reading. There are games there, there are movies there, like there's so many things. And typically every summer, libraries have like a kids reading program or activities that are going on constantly. I also wish we used more, but sometimes we didn't have the time to, which was totally fine because we're busy doing something else. But that was something that was really cool, is that they had activities on a daily of things that kids could go do, crafts, everything like that. Wednesday, we did Water Wednesday. And so what we did, and I know this is different for everyone, but we have a water park right next to us that's like literally 2 miles away. And so we got a season pass, and so every Wednesday we would go to the water park. However, it can be different for any of you. If you have a pool, gosh, I wish I had a pool because it would have saved so much time with everything. Or if there's a community pool nearby or splash pads or something, do something. It is including water that they'll enjoy because they're gonna love it. Thursday was Thoughtful Thursday. I really liked this day because we were able to think outside the box and do something that wasn't for us. Some things that we did was feed my starving children, and the boys actually really enjoyed that. At first when we went, they were like iffy, and my youngest was complaining that we had to do this stuff, but like once we started doing it, they actually really enjoyed it and super loved it. That was one thing that we did a lot. And then we also like made cookies for the neighbors. We made cookies for other people, just doing something, some type of service or some type of selfless act that helped someone else and not us. And actually the boys loved that day, I kind of think, the most. It was something that they were able to do for someone else and not for them, which service is super important nowadays because kids don't do it often. They're very self-minded, self-absorbed, as a lot of people these days. And so I think even as for me, it was really good for me to just go out and do something else. Lastly, Friday was Something Fun Friday. And Something Fun Friday was really good for us to just get out of the house and do something. Some like ideas that we had was go to the zoo, go to a museum, go to a park. We went on picnics. We went and played with our cousins. We just did something where it was getting out of the house and doing something together or something away from being home. That one was, we had to kind of use our creativity on what exactly we wanted to do, depending on where you live or how hot it is. In Arizona, it's super hot, so like going to the zoo was a little hard because it's freaking hot. So we had to figure out what exactly we would do prior to Friday or in the morning of Friday so that we had a set plan of like when we were gonna go. So that was the week. Of course, like I said, you can change it, you can do anything you want, but that was what we had, and I made sure to have the MMTT WW just so they have it stick out in their mind. Lastly, what I did was with the Play Harder, I got their ideas from their list, and then I also did my own ideas, and I actually put them on popsicle sticks. So whenever they got bored during the day, whenever they had some free time or whatever, they would go pick out something, shoot BB gun and make a target. Hand painting, make a hammock, write a story, make a fake flower, just like random things that they could do, make a book, things that they could use their brain to create and do something that like is kind of out of the ordinary. I actually did a scavenger hunt down our street. I just picked up random things that they could go and find, and they went and they came back and they found like, I think there was like 25 things on the list and they only missed 3. So it's just like using time and their brains to just go out and do something. Honestly, kids need something to do. I know for younger kids, you can't necessarily do that. And for younger kids, you're gonna have to help them with a lot of these things, but most of these things they can do on their own. Some of these things you're definitely gonna have to help them with, but no matter the age range, this is still something that's exciting for them. They get to look in their book. Even if they can't read, you can show them, you can draw pictures, you can do these things. But this was honestly a lifesaver for me. I definitely recommend it. I definitely recommend them getting away from TVs, technology. During their lunchtime, I would let them watch videos or do something, but for the most part, I didn't want them to be on technology. One of my biggest pet peeves is when kids are just glued to a screen. And so I tried my hardest to make sure that that wasn't the case. But honestly, I think this will be a lifesaver for you and for your kids, especially for you, because when the kids are home 24/7, we get kind of crazy. We get a lot of crazy. I know I reached my points. I had breakdowns. Every mom does, especially stay-at-home moms. So make sure and do something creative. Make sure you do something that will get the kids off their minds. And even now that they're in school, they still have things that they can do. They still have this that they can go look at. They still have this that they can do as well. So it's not just summertime. They can do it every day if they want, if they have the time or need to. So hopefully that worked. Hopefully that helped out. And let me know if you have any questions.